You don't have real friends. No, don't get your feathers ruffled. I know how it sounds coming from a man who's seen 80 winters. You're probably thinking I'm just some bitter old soul who's been left behind by the world. But it's quite the opposite. I've had more friends than I can count on both hands and feet. I've been a brother to many, a confidant to some, and a stranger to even more. But as I sit here now, in the quiet of this room, I've realized something that most people spend their whole lives running away from. Relationships are seasonal, not permanent. We treat friendship like it's supposed to be a concrete foundation that never cracks. But the truth, it's more like the weather. Sometimes it's a warm summer breeze that keeps you going, and sometimes it's a storm that passes through. And eventually, the sky always changes. The trap of the digital echo. You young folks today, you have it harder than we did, in a way. You've got these devices in your pockets that tell you you're connected to hundreds, maybe thousands of people. You see their birthdays, you see what they ate for lunch, you see them smiling on a beach somewhere. You call them friends. But let me ask you this, if your world came crashing down tonight, if the money dried up, if the lights went out, if your heart broke into a million pieces, how many of those people would be at your door, not sending a text, not leaving a like? I mean, standing on your porch in the rain. Most of what you have isn't friendship. It's social noise. It's proximity. You're friends because you share a screen, or a cubicle, or a gym. But once you remove that common ground, notice how quickly the silence sets in. We've traded depth for width. We've got 1,000 miles of connection, but it's only an inch deep. And that's a dangerous place to be, because an inch of water won't keep you afloat when the tide gets high. The story of the diverging path. I remember a man I knew back in the 70s. Let's call him Elias. We were inseparable. We worked the same shifts. We shared the same dreams of buying a piece of land. We even helped each other fix our first raggedy cars. I would have taken a bullet for that man. Then I got a promotion. He didn't. I started spending my weekends studying for a degree. He started spending his at the bottom of a bottle. There was no big fight, no shouting match. We just stopped fitting. Our conversations, which used to last until the sun came up, started feeling like a chore. We were speaking the same language, but we weren't saying anything anymore. For years, I felt guilty. I felt like a traitor. I thought, Samuel, you're a bad friend for leaving him behind. But I realize now that we weren't meant to walk the whole way together. He was my brother for that specific mile of the road. He taught me about loyalty, and he taught me about the pain of watching someone stay still while the world moves on. That was his gift to me, and my gift to him was the space to be who he was, even if I couldn't be there to see it. The great filter of time and distance. Time and distance. They're like the wind on a mountain. They blow away everything that isn't rooted deep in the stone. Most people are like those autumn leaves I mentioned. They're beautiful. They add color to your life. But they aren't meant to survive the frost. We try so hard to maintain relationships. We schedule calls we don't want to make. We go to dinners where we have nothing to talk about, all because we're afraid of the end. But why are we so afraid of things ending? A sunset is beautiful specifically because it ends. A song is moving because it has a final note. If you spend all your energy trying to keep the dead leaves attached to the branch, you'll have no energy left for the new buds that are trying to grow in the spring. You have to let the filters work. If someone drifts away because you stopped being convenient to them, let them go. They weren't a real friend. They were a situational companion. There is a difference. The anchor and the self. In the end, after all the filtering, you'll be left with a very small circle. Maybe 2 people. Maybe 3. These are your anchors. They've seen you when you were ugly. They've seen you when you were wrong. They've seen you when you had nothing to offer them. And they stayed anyway. But here is the hardest truth I've learned in 80 years. The only person who is guaranteed to be with you from the first breath to the last is you. If you aren't your own friend, you'll always be a beggar for the company of others. You'll stay in bad friendships because you're terrified of the silence. You'll tolerate people who don't respect you because you don't want to eat dinner alone. I've learned to love my own company. I've learned to sit in this chair and not feel lonely, even when I'm alone. When you become your own anchor, you stop being so desperate for others to hold you down. You start to see people for what they are, guests in your life. Some stay for a weekend, some for a year, and some stay until the house falls down. Treat them all with kindness, but don't give them the keys to your soul unless they've earned the right to stay through the winter. The grace of letting go. I want you to do something after you finish watching this. Take a look at your friends. Not the names on your phone, but the people in your life. Ask yourself, who is here for the season, and who is here for the soul? Don't be angry at the seasonal ones. Thank them. They brought you laughter when you were sad. They taught you how to work, how to play, maybe even how to love. But don't force them to stay past their time. There is a great dignity in a quiet goodbye. There is a great strength in realizing that you don't need a crowd to be whole. So, I'll say it again. You don't have real friends. Not the way the movies tell you. You have a series of beautiful, temporary encounters, and if you're lucky, truly, deeply lucky, you'll find 1 or 2 souls who decide that their season is the same length as yours. Everything else, it's just the wind. And remember this, because it'll save you a lot of heartache in the years to come. People growing apart is a norm, not an accident.